This conference will now be recorded.
And so these are the, like I said, these 5 steps. We'll review these in a few minutes, but let's do another review. Andrea, I'm going to give you what goes up here in this D blank. Yeah, I guess Andrea isn't there. How about Clarissa?
All right,
Can
I'm
you hear
here.
me? I am here.
Oh, okay. You got
my,
muted.
my finger mouse is not working, so I was trying to unmute, and my mouse was going all over the place, so my computer's not working right. But it's dominant, correct?
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. How about the P that goes with dominance?
I think somebody else was going to answer that question.
Nice one. Anybody want to answer that one? Clarissa?
Yeah, I honestly don't remember, but yeah,
It was a long weekend.
yeah, it was a long weekend. So,
How
but
about how about Kristen? Are you know the answer?
yeah, I don't remember the P's, but I do remember all of the top ones.
All right,
Uh,
so I'll tell you, I'll make it easy. It's problems.
okay.
D people focus is problems. Now, how about the I here above Oprah?
That's me, an influencer.
Right. All right. And what goes in the P block there?
I have my notes from last week, so I want to say people.
You're right. You win the prize.
All right, someone else's turn.
Kristen, can you hear us? How about Andrea? S.
Steady.
Yeah, steadiness. You're right. And the P for steadiness is pace. P-A-C-E. And C is compliance to rules and procedures. And the P for the C is, I'll have to review my notes. All right, P for C is procedure.
Procedures.
Yeah. So we got to remember those 4 P's. And so let's move on to the next. We already filled the blank here. So when we talk about the 4 P's, yeah, Kristen, I don't think we can hear you.
What
Sorry
about now?
Is that you?
Hello? Yeah, sorry, I had it on speaker.
Okay, we can hear you now. So welcome back. So the 4 behavior side, the 4 P's for D is problems and challenges. For I is people and contacts. S, pace and consistency. C is how you react to procedures and constraints. Now then we need to review the emotions. What's the emotion for the D? Anybody can speak out. Come on, people, you got to know what the emotion of the D is. Come on, you got to be as hot-headed and angry as the D people.
Yeah.
Isn't it anger?
Sorry.
Isn't it anger?
Thanks. You can tell I was in community theater, right? So I, what's the emotion of the I? Oh, it's so good to see you today. Oh, I'm just so excited. How's the family and how's the dog and the cat doing? I is,
Optimism?
yeah, and optimism or enthusiasm. S, the emotion.
S is
Doesn't show
emotional?
emotion.
Non-emotional.
Unemotional.
Yeah, just remember the duck with the feet under the water. They appear calm, but they're can really be stressed out, but you just can't read them. And the emotion of the sea.
This is Clarissa. It's get permission.
That's a characteristic, but the emotion is fear. Fear to be wrong, fear to be making a mistake. So the emotion D is anger, I is optimism or enthusiasm, S is non-emotional, and C is fear. All right, so if you fill in the blank words, anybody feel up to the experience. Who's in tune with the experience? Who do you think is more into the feeling about feelings and attitudes of others?
Probably the influencer.
Influencer.
Yeah, it's the I. So they're more in tune with people's feelings and emotions, and many times end up being the spokesperson of whatever group they may be part of. Who's about results and efficiency?
Steadiness, S.
Nope.
C would be my second guess.
Yeah, it's either going to be a D, the dominator, or the C. So, the D and C are results-oriented people. And who needs to have the information?
I would say C.
Close. Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, C is information, and security is the S. I had it twisted back and forth. All right, so how about talks and socializes? Who's this?
I would say an influencer.
Right, you are correct again. Accommodates others or takes care of others.
Probably. Wouldn't the
An S?
influencer also do that?
They could. I mean, any of the four could do this, but there's one of them that's particularly stronger in that element.
An S?
Right. So the higher the S, the more accommodating they are, the less confrontational they are. If they're a low S, they're going to be, much more energized, but the high S is tuned in, taking care of other people, the go-to person. This one could be more than one answer, but who do you think is going to be a stronger multitasker?
I would say an I or a C.
I can give you credit for an I, but this could be a combination of colors as well. It could be a D, who's also, what did we say about the energy line? Low S. And so the low S is more intense. So a high D with a low S is going to be a stronger multitasker than just a plain I or S. All right, who's into directing?
D.
Thank you. And that was Andrea, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and who avoids directing? It's a tricky one.
I don't know if it's the I or the S. I don't know.
I?
Nope.
Oh, and C.
Nope.
Then it was the S, like it says the I or the S.
No.
Must be a high or a low. It's probably looking for a high or a low.
It's a low D. If someone above the energy line, a high D, directs, then someone who avoids directing is just going to be the opposite of a high D, which is a low D. Don't you love it? Just turn the coin upside down. Who is more comfortable verbalizing?
I'm gonna say an I, a high I.
Yeah, and let's start using the high and low um, uh, uh, adjective. Who avoids being rushed?
Um,
And this is when
I,
you think of those 4 P's.
A high
I'm
S.
yeah, because they're steady.
Very good. It is a high S. So when you think about this, say rush. What kind of word is that? Well, it's a pace word, so it's going to be an S. So avoid being rushed is going to be a high S versus a low S who's going to be doing the rushing. All right, good job on that. Let's talk a little bit about what a pure behavioral style is. This is from chapter, I can't remember, it's maybe 1, maybe 4, but a pure behavioral style has one color above the energy line. We'll talk about what is the energy line here shortly. Now, I'm going to have a little entertainment here to see if you can move my mouse. So let me see if I can give everybody the ability to move and draw. If you have a touchpad, it might be a little bit more challenging. So if you have these characteristics, you're going to need them here. Or just follow along in chapter 5 or page, I think it's like 12. Let me pull up. This is a sample report. It also appears in page 11 or 12 of your personal report. So what I want you to do is, we'll go to the next slide. And as an experiment, I'm going to see if Andrea can draw a line here in a second. So this line here is the D line. This is the I line, the S line, the C line, and then this is the 50% line, and then 0 is here, 100 is it to the top of the graph, and I'm going to see if Andrea, just see if you can move my, well, wait a minute, let me erase this mess.
Not only do I not know how to do it, but my mouse is messed up. You remember I was saying at the top of the call that I can't manipulate my mouse the way I want to.
Oh, okay. Well, you're doing something, but all right. So we'll let you sit out this exercise. Clarissa, can you move the pen?
Yes, that's me. Scribble, scribble, scribble.
Yeah, looks like a drunk woman drawing here. All right.
I don't know about drunk. I don't drink, but okay.
But you're there. That's so 70% is somewhere right around here, and so let's see. Kristen, can you do 60% on the eye line?
So 60. So this is the middle point. So 60 would be right here. Right?
Yeah, just draw a horizontal line or something. Very good. Boy, it's straight. Looks like you used a ruler. All right, so let's see. Andrew, you can't manipulate it, so, or can you?
I'm trying.
Yeah. How about Clarissa?
All right. Yeah. If you give. Okay, I don't have control over it anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you get
Oh, there
control
it is.
anyway?
I got it.
You just either you move you if you have a mouse, you just depress the left button, or if you have, I don't know how you do it on a,
Oh, what? Oh, is this me?
yeah,
That's
that's you.
Andrea, yeah.
Oh, okay. I could do something. All right. Erase that, please.
All right,
I think
I'll
the
erase.
issue is coming when too many people move the mouse. I think that's why people are having problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't move your mouse unless you're actually trying to draw. All right, so I'm gonna do C. C's like 20% somewhere right about down here, and I'm going to clear this and go to the next one where we're going to use words. So I'm going to take control back so you can move.
What is this percentage? The percentage of the people, the population that have that behavior style? I didn't get what the 60%, the 20%, the 70%
Oh no,
was.
it didn't have anything. All that was just trying for you to get used to where these percentages fall. Actually, on your graph, it gives you all the numbers. So this is just sort of a kindergarten version of understanding the graphs, and we're going to expand that here in a few minutes. So
Okay,
if you have
I'm
your
a little
list of
lost.
words, if I say you're awful pessimistic today, approximately where would that fall in the graph, and what line would it fall?
Okay, we're gonna have to slow up. I'm really confused,
Yeah,
Greg,
well,
as to
this time
what you're doing.
just speak, tell me, don't try to draw. If
Okay.
I say you're pessimistic, where do you think, and what line would that fall on this graph? Would it be a high D or a low D or a high I or a low I, or whatever, S or C? And what we do to answer that question is look at these words. So if I say you're pessimistic, you're probably going to appear as a low I. It's not the exact same word, but it's close to being pessimistic. And if we go to the next one, and I say you have no need, this person has no need to direct, where would they appear? Just speak, if you know it, just speak it out. If you don't,
Would that be a low D?
it would be a low D. That's correct. So it would be somewhere down here. Now, if I say this person verbalizes well and easily, where would they fall in this graph?
I'm gonna say a high I.
Right. They would be somewhere up here. Very good. And this person tends to follow rules, careful and worrisome.
High C.
All right. All right. So you see how that worked out. All right. So let's do one more, and then we'll change gears here. Now,
I will
if I
tell you what's
say,
really helping. I will tell you what's really helping me. This is Kristen. Is the card that came with our stuff. That's really helping me kind of look on both sides, just in case anyone. I hope that's okay, but that's what I've been using.
oh
Thank
yeah,
you. That's what I'm looking for now because I was
Yeah,
a little
that's
lost.
really helping me.
yeah, that's why we created it. An easy little card to look this up, because you're not going to have your textbook with you all the time. All right, so this word doesn't appear on the little card, but again, where do you think, is this a problem word, a people word, a pace word, or a procedure word? If I say, boy, you're awful moody today, where would that fall?
I feel like that's a people word, so I would say it's a
A
low
low I.
D.
I'm thinking low I.
Yeah, it's going to be a low
Oh,
I
I.
down here somewhere. Good. Now, if I say, boy, this person is driving, he or she is just pushing everything along.
ID.
ID.
Right. And this person's impatient. Okay, well, problem, people,
It's a low.
Low
Low.
S.
I'm thinking low S.
right,
Yes, low
because
S.
the S is the energy line. So impatient is a pace. Unsystematic.
A low
Unsystematic.
C.
Low C.
And just to tell you, ladies, a cheat sheet, the behavior characteristic PDF.
That's exactly what I'm looking at
Yeah,
now.
that's exactly what I'm cheating off of. Thank you.
It's not cheating if you gave it to us.
That's true.
You know, remember the exam's open book, so you can use anything you want.
I'm sorry,
Now,
which one are
don't
you using?
Behavior characteristics CYC International PDF. It came along with
Ah,
class 1 material.
gotcha.
and don't confuse unorganized with unsystematic, because disorganized can be a low S word. Unsystematic could be a low C word because it has systems is about procedures and processes. So they're two different words, two different lines. All right, so now you have your tools. We're going to advance this a little bit, and so what I'm going to do is now explain the grading, or how you read the graph, and that's where you need that 5-step process that I talked about in the beginning. And those 5 steps also are right here. So the first step to read the process, and all this is super important. I guess about everything I talk about, I say is super important. But the first step is to determine the primary style on the graphs. Now, the primary style is going to be the tallest line, and in this case, it's the color, it's C compliance. So step 1, determine the primary style. Step 2 is the secondary style, and that's usually the second tallest line, which in this case is I. And then you determine the core style. So the core style is going to be a C over I. So again, primary style, the tallest color, the secondary style, the second tallest, the core style is, the top 2 colors of what the graph shows. And then the other word is behavioral design. It's just all 4 colors. Now, this is the way we look at these graphs. And if you have low colors, it doesn't mean we ignore them, but we'll come back to that on what that might mean. So here's the process. We determine step 1, primary style, step 2, secondary style, and then the core style. And then the next step, which is step 3, is how many colors above the energy line. And that's right here. The more colors above the energy line, the more versatile, more adaptable the person may be. The fewer colors above the energy line, the less adaptable that person is going to be. So you with me on that? It just means if you have like 3 colors, which is the second smallest part of the population in the world, you're going to have just, I'm not going to like to use the word strengths, but you're just going to have more ability to be adaptable and flexible. If you only have 1 color, which is a pure behavioral style, like A Few Good Men, that Colonel Nathan Jessup, he has 1 color, and that's red. That makes him less adaptable and more stereotypical in his behavior style.
Now, can I ask
have
a question? It's Kristen.
Please,
Okay.
please.
So my question is, how often do you think you would see someone with, like, way off the charts on all four? Is that common or uncommon?
Well, I would have to know what you mean when you said all four colors off the
So, like,
charts.
well, not off the charts, but like above 50. So,
Above
like,
the energy line.
above the
Yeah,
energy line. So
well, let
how
me break
often
it
would you
down.
see?
A pure behavioral style, when they only have one color on the chart, maybe 3 or 4%.
Well, I have a question about
Yeah,
that. Well, first of all, you
let
made
me
the statement.
hold on a minute. Let me finish the population. So one color, 3 or 4%. Then three colors is going to be less free, less often. You're going to see two colors is going to be more frequent and for most people in the country. So most people are going to have like two colors or three colors. So I don't know, hopefully that answers your question. So you only see one color, maybe 3 or 4% of the population, then, three colors, then two colors, and then one color.
So it would
So
be very infrequent that we would see someone with all four above the energy line.
You will never see that
Never
unless
see that. The person, I should forward that person on to you if I ever see them.
Yeah, you need to call 911 if you ever see someone has
I would
four.
worry too. Thank you.
The only time sometimes you will see what we call an unusual graph where all four colors are very, very close to the energy line, but not really significant above or below. If you see that, and you would read the page of information, chapter 5 on unusual graphs, and it'll explain why they have an unusual graph. All right, what other question?
I did. I want to go back to the secondary style. You said the primary style is the highest color. The secondary style is your next highest. Does that next highest, does it matter whether that is above or below the energy line? If it's the next highest, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we only and on this situation we only look at the colors above. We don't look at the colors below.
Okay, so in that case, then, if you have three colors below the energy line, that means you don't have a secondary behavior style.
No, you're always going to have a secondary.
Well, if
So,
all three are below, you just said we're not looking at those.
oh, I see what you're saying.
I have one above, high above, influencing. All the other three are below. So I'm trying to find out what my secondary style is. Or are you saying if it's not above the energy line, it's not
Yeah,
counted?
I would have to look at your score and tell you. So, for example, in this case, what's the person's primary style?
Influencer. I guess I'm just trying to get clarity on what is a secondary style.
Yeah, and if they don't have but one color above, then they're just going to be one color. You're going to be like a D or an I or an S or C. And like I said,
No
in this
secondary.
case, you don't have a secondary style.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you're weird or unusual or anything like that. It just means for this exercise, we only look at colors above. It doesn't mean, it doesn't mean we ignore those colors below, but just for sake of classification, we only look at the colors above.
So I'm that 1%, I guess, that 1 or 2%.
You might be. I'll have to look at your report again. So what's the primary style of this person?
Influencing.
Right. And what's the secondary style?
Dominant.
And then what's the core style? I over what?
I over D.
Over D.
Yeah, it's just I over
Okay,
D.
then
Of course.
this is an example of what I'm confused about. The adaptive style, does it have a secondary? All three of those are below the energy line on the adaptive style graph.
No, we're looking at the natural style. What does your natural style say?
Okay, I thought at one point I heard you say adaptive. I may not be understanding. Um, I got it now. I'm confused about the adaptive,
Okay.
but we're on natural.
Well, like if like I said, if you want me to look at your graph after the class, but if you only have one color above, then you're just going to you won't have a secondary style in this case. All right, so the course style, this person is I over D. And so let's go back, quick review on how do we, read the graph. So we get down to step 3, and we look at how many colors above the energy line. So step 3 is this person has 3 colors above. And then step 4 is how many colors above 80, how many colors below 20. Now, hold on to your tennis shoes here because I don't want to lose you. So anything above 80 is a high score. Anything below 20 is a low score. Now, low isn't good, isn't bad. High isn't good, isn't bad. And then everything here between the 21 and 79 is just moderate. So what we're doing is just understanding the person's behavior. If they have anything that's above 80 or below 20, it just means that one aspect or that one factor is going to be more noticeable than, say, someone who falls into the moderate zone. So let me repeat that. Anything above 80, for example, if this person has, a 90 D score, it means that problem solving side is going to be much more stronger, much more noticeable than, say, in this case, this person whose I score is 56. And if anything's below 20, it sort of means the same thing. If this person is a low I below 20, it just means their pessimism, their judging, their temperamental lack of people skills is going to be noticeable by its absence. If someone has a high I, their outgoing, gregarious, talkative behavior style is going to be much more noticeable because it's what we call intense. Anything above 80 and below 20 is what we call intensity. And it just means by its absence or its presence is going to be much more noticeable to other people and harder for that person to control when they're under stress. Now, any questions on what I just said? So Nimi, let's flip to, just a generic report here. And if you have a printed copy, you want to turn to page either 21 or 22. This graph also appears on the bottom right corner of every page of their report. So just know this is just the exploded view of their disk graph. So let me review here. Again, the important things to remember and to write down is graph 2 is their natural style. This is the way they are naturally, or the way they are at home. So Graph 2 is the most accurate and most reliable part of this assessment. Graph 1 changes all the time. This is the way you are at work, how you adapt to the environment. For a lot of people, graph 2 and graph 1 is almost identical. But for people who are direct reports or may work for you, their adaptive graph could be totally different than their natural graph. So let me just quickly review here. This is the DISC, the problems, the people, the PACE procedures. As we said earlier, 100 is right here, 0's here. The 50% line is what we call the energy line, and I'll explain why we call it the energy line. And then you have the percentages of the scores of the 4 factors. Any questions so far?
So you said that adaptive style can change, correct? Okay. But the natural will always, so natural is more where someone would be versus adaptive. Because I was just looking at my own. I was surprised by one of my scores on the adaptive side.
Yeah, and the natural side rarely changes during your lifetime. Now, if you've taken other assessments from other companies, you may get totally different scores throughout your lifetime. But if you've used the TTI report, your natural style will not change during your lifetime unless you have a SEE, an emotional event in your life. The adaptive will change if you get a new boss. The adaptive graph will change if you get a new job. The adaptive will change if you're new to the job. And the adaptive will change if you don't like your job, or it will change if you have a personal problem taking place, a family issue at home, or or you're upset about something at work. And if you're coaching someone, you always look at the adaptive graph. So step 5 of this grading exercise is to see if there's, let me clear away this junk. Is there any one color that is 35 points different between graph 2 and graph 1? So that's the 5th step, and this is what we call disparity. And if there's a 35 difference between graph 2 and 1, then something is taking place in that environment you're working in. For hiring people, we only look at graph 2. We don't care, well, because the adaptive style is based on their former job or their current job, not the one at your current job or your current work environment. All right, so let me go back and review those 5 steps and make sure you got that. All right, so step 1, determine primary style. So in this case, primary style, the tallest color is C. The second color is I, and it's super close to the green line. So step 1 is C, step 2 is I, and then the core style, like the apple core, the center of all this, is the primary and the primary and secondary style, which is C over I. And then the third step, how many colors above the energy line? The more colors, the more adaptable. Step 4, you make a mental note on what's above 80 and what's below 20. So so anything that falls in the moderate area, like if they have 3 colors in the moderate area, it just means they're they're just steady Eddie kind of people. They don't rock the boat. They're more stable. And those above 80 in any of the factors or below 20 means that particular behavior is more stronger, more intense by its presence or its absence. And then the fifth step is comparing the two graphs to see if there's more than 35 points difference between graph 2 and graph 1. So if I say, what's going on at home, Andrea, which graph would I look at?
Graph 2, your natural style.
Right. And I say, well, tell me about what's going on at work. Clarissa, which graph would I look at?
You're going to look at graph 1.
Yeah,
the
there you
adaptive,
go.
because it's
And a lot of people
your
get that
environment.
backwards. Graph 2 is home. Graph 1 is what's going on at work. Okay. So let me cover some points that are from the textbook and that I didn't mention. Graph 2 is your unconscious behavior. Now, if I run up, you're walking down the street and I run up behind you and yell and scare you, you're going to revert back to your natural style. So if you're a high D, you may turn around and hit me with a 2x4 because you're going to attack the problem. If you're a C, you're going to become passive and hand over your wallet or whatever. Fear takes over. So that anytime when you're under stress or scared or fatigued, you're going to revert back to your natural style. And as I said here, it only changes with a significant emotional event in your life, and we only use that for hiring. And then the points on graph 1 is generated, well, don't worry about that, generated from the most responses, but this is the mask you put on when you go to work, like Phantom of the Opera, who had this mask covering the ugly part of his face. And sometimes your mask or the adaptive behavior is intentional, where you're trying to be somebody you're not, or you're just naturally adapting to whatever the environment at work is.
I have a question. By looking at the graphs, it looks like the person is not putting on a mask because they are pretty, for the most part, consistent in their high behavior style, whether they're at home or they're at work. So,
right. And if it's the same, if the both graphs are identical, all that means is the way you're at home is the way you're at work.
So they're more dominant at home than they are at work.
Yeah, and you find more senior level people or independent consultants, they're pretty much identical. And like I said, it's more direct reports that have changes unless you are yourself going through a change or a shift in your life. And we don't use graph 2 for hiring. Graph 1 for hiring. We use graph 1 and graph 2 for coaching and understanding conflict. Okay, so let's talk about again what intensity means. Intensity means anything above 80 or below 20. So what we notice in this particular graph, that their I is 94, but when they go to work, it's a 54. So that means there's something at work that's making this person less friendly, less outgoing.
I just have to laugh. If I can go and tell my boss, there's something at home, something here that makes me unfriendly. I think she'd laugh at me.
Well, unfriendly may be an
I
exaggeration.
know, but it's funny though.
Yeah.
Well, maybe someone's more talkative I find I bet you probably goes a lot with introverts and extroverts because if someone's friendly and outgoing at home, at work they might not feel that same way, which I think is probably what could influence it.
Yeah. Yeah, this person at home is an extrovert, but at work they're not. So it just means that the environment at work just makes them more task focused, and they're not working with people, say as much as they do at home. And then under stress, it just means those behaviors become more prominent, or I say noticeable to other people.
Those that are below the energy line. And less than 20,
Well,
no less than 20%. Okay.
yeah, in
Okay.
this case, what does it mean when you have a low green score? And feel free to cheat, look at your, those words. What is it? What are the behaviors associated with a 0 at home and a 12 at work? Are they multitasking? Because this is the energy line. So anything below here means you're going to be more energy, more spontaneity, more disorganized, more, like this is like the bull in the china shop profile. Because the low green, high energy, high green, low energy, but more organization. All right, so the rest of this class, I'm just going to show you different types of profiles. And let me cover a couple of things before we do our next case study where we throw everything together. So let's look at this one. Anybody want to tell me where the disparity is?
It's more than 30 points. Or let me ask you so I can make sure I'm understanding. Is it more than 30 points between graphs or more than 30 points within the same graph?
No, it's between the graphs. So
Okay, between the graphs.
So if this one's a 41 at home and
Yeah.
85 at work, then that means
Yes.
that's more than 35 points. So that's where the disparity is.
Okay.
So anybody want to guess on what might be taking place to make this person have a high blue score at work and a 40 at home?
Could they be in a position, though, that requires more rules and regulations so they're compliant to make sure they get their job done? Whereas when they get home, they want to unwind and relax and not follow rules, and they're really more of a carefree person?
Yeah,
I'm wondering.
that could be what's going on. Now, I want you to go to your textbook to page 156 and tab there, because you're going to need this and you're going to see this on the exam. So I don't want you to mess it up. So look at page 156. And you see four orange circles. Tell me when you get there.
I'm here.
I'm
Okay.
here.
So those four circles are the same thing you see on the right side of this graph here. So read those circles, somebody, and read those circles and tell me what they say.
The first one says trying to survive. The second one says guarding themselves from consequences or because of fear. The third one says don't understand the behaviors needed to be successful on the job. And the last one says searching to discover who they really are.
Right. So if you see this on the exam, make sure you go to page 156 and give me those four possible causes. So, all right, let's talk about the emotions. So if we see the C go up on the adaptive style, what's the emotion of the high C?
Of the high C.
So we have the emotion of the D is what? Anger. The emotion of the I is enthusiasm. The emotion of the low S is spontaneity, high energy. So what's the
fear.
emotion of the high C? Yeah, fear.
Fear.
So write that down, because that could mean the person is fearful of something. It's mean like if you ever you see a turtle and you scare a turtle, what does he do?
They go in their shell.
In a little shell.
Yeah, yeah. And this guy or lady is going into his or her shell, and they're fearful because it's either new to the job, bad boss, threatened layoffs, or something like that is making them more fearful. So now the same thing could happen with the I. They could have a low I at home, and the I could go off the charts at work. It just means they're adapting and trying to be more extrovert at the office for some reason. And it's your job to be able to read these graphs and become, the psychologist of understanding work behavior. Okay, we got that. All right, so let's throw everything together in this case study. All right, let me give you the facts. I'm going to show you the natural and adaptive graph of Mary. Mary manages 24 people in an accounting department. So what I want you to do is take that 5-step process, step one, determine what the primary style is, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to go through and look at graph two. Graph two is what?
Natural.
Natural.
And what is natural?
Your home.
Yeah, the way they're at home. And then we're going to look at graph one on how she's reacting to that environment at work as manager of 24 accountants. Okay, so I don't want you to jump around or skip around. I want you to just follow the process, and we'll walk this through. So step one, what's the primary style of Mary at home?
D.
D.
Right. What's the secondary? What is the secondary style?
C.
Right. What's the core style?
D over C.
C.
Yeah, see, that's pretty easy. If that was all we had to learn, it would be a piece of cake. All right, so what we want to do is analyze what is a person's D over C behavior look like. So what I want you to do is get another sticky tab. I want you to go to chapter 5, and I want you to
Page 133.
Go. Thank you.
Oh, that's Arnold Palmer. No, that's Arnold Palmer. Sorry.
Yeah, while we're doing this, don't read pages 130 and 135. Just tear those pages out. So just follow what I just said instead of those pages. So what I want you to do is turn to page 138. And you see these words are the same words that are on your report that appear on page 12, basically. Looks like this. And so these same words appear on your report and in chapter 5. All right, so let's go back here, and someone tell me, Kristen, if you can talk, if you see someone who has a D score like that, give me the words that describe that profile in the D factor. And you feel free to read it right off page 138. For the exam, I don't care, you can plagiarize as long as you have the right information. I don't care where you get the words.
So I would say that's about, if I were looking at, I would say it's right about 90, 80 to 90. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I would say they're demanding.
Mm-hmm. Right. Good. And somebody else look at the eye line, and you can flip 3 pages to 142, and you see the same words for the I person. So someone tell me what characteristics describe that I score.
Sociable.
Wait a minute.
Wait, you said one the low I.
Oh, you talking about low eye? I thought you said a high eye.
No, based on
low,
the graph
low.
that he has up. So is that about 10?
Oh.
Yeah, 10.
Critical, pessimistic, moody, somewhere around there.
Right. All right, and then you notice on these pages there are 2 boxes, and this one has 2 yellow boxes: probable strengths, possible limitations. So if they have a low I, they've got this is intensity. Somebody read those statements in the yellow block under possible limitations.
Acts impulsively, heart over mind, unrealistic in appraising people, inattentive to detail, situational listener, and disorganized.
Whoa, man. Now this is Mary before she has her first cup of coffee in the morning, ladies. So let's analyze her S score and then turn 3 more pages. And that's probably around 20%. Somebody read the words that describe that.
Is pressure oriented, eager, flexible, impulsive, hypertensive.
Okay. And the final thing, turn 3 pages, go to the blue line, and that's about 60%. And that says systematic, diplomatic, accurate, and tactful. So we analyzed her 4 behaviors. These 4 colors are like 4 force fields inside the human being. So now we know the way Mary is in the morning before she shows up at work. Now, do you want to work for that type of natural behavior?
No, it would drive me crazy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people exactly like this. So anyway, now we know what's going on, her natural style, which the person always reverts back to when they're under stress. Now, what we see is Mary's adapting, isn't she? Her I score goes up at work. Thank goodness.
She's sociable at work.
she's sociable, but there's a lot of energy. When we talk about the energy line, what we're saying is that this person, like Mary's she's got to exhibit a lot more energy to be a people-oriented person. And then it becomes a natural. And if a person has to apply a lot of energy to either, in her case, raise the I or lower the D, it takes more energy, and they're more susceptible to burning out or driving everybody crazy. So we analyze the natural style, we analyze the adaptive style. Nothing else changes but the I. Now let me ask you, what do you think? If you were a detective, do you think Mary is doing a good job at work?
I mean, that jump to have to mask that you're a people person when you're not a people person at home, I would say probably not. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
going to get
Well,
tired of turning it
yep,
on.
yep, yep. Anybody else want to say something about Mary? Well, the answer is you don't know if she's doing a good job or not. But you
That's what I was
said
thinking.
probably.
I didn't know, so I didn't want to say. I'm like, I don't know if she's doing good. The only thing that concerns me was that S, really, at work, and I was looking up to see what that meant again. Um, that S concerns me, so I don't know.
Well,
I was
it
going to say
should.
it does too, because if you look at it, she has to be really social, but if you look at her S, she's impatient at the same time.
So it makes me think that being social and enthusiastic, I don't know, but it makes it seem like it's fake. If you really want things like yesterday because you're impatient, but you have to put a smile on your face and you're fake, like, would you please give me the report? Oh my gosh, so you didn't do it yet? It seems like you're that fake enthusiastic, but inside you're burning up because you need things yesterday. But I don't
Mhm.
know. It just seems fake to me. It seems like you can't be high in one and low in the other. Not that far apart.
Well, it happens, trust me. And that's why you should be concerned about it, because uh, it may take Mary a lot of energy to raise that eye, and that's not healthy. That's that she's I guess she is faking it in a way, but she still has this job. She's got to manage 24 people, and it's certainly going to be very difficult. And I'm sure at night she's burned out when she goes home. So where you have someone else who's a natural high I, they're going to be still energized by the end of the day, because managing people, talking to people is a natural ability for someone who's a high I. And it's like me. I may sound like a high I, but I'm not. So if you're going to survive in the world, you have to learn to adapt to meet your customers, employees' expectations. So, but just based on experience, I know she's going to have a very difficult time, and I would have never hired her in the first place, because of that disparity. Anytime you see this, and you see this about 7% of the time, anytime you see a D over C behavior style, you just know that person changes their mind. They vacillate a lot. They can still be very successful, but they're not very good with managing people. They may order people because that I is down here, and instead of working through people, who's a person who's a D over I. How many of you are D over I core styles? Okay. So anyway, that's the process of understanding how you read graphs, is by doing what we're doing. So what I want you to do is, again, we're gonna play a little bit of game called is this person qualified to do their job? And I'm going to show you a series of graphs of people I know very well, either because they're clients or employees of my clients, or um, people I know as friends. I don't have any family members graphs in here. But anyway, I'm going to tell you about the job, and you're going to tell me if they're successful or not. This is a magnet school teacher in a high school. A magnet school is a school that has um, uh, kids that, quote unquote, are self-directed, get better scores, and have been more successful. So they send them to this magnet school because they put all the bright kids into one school.
And I went to a
And
magnet school. I'll just throw that in there.
hey, congratulations. They wouldn't let me in. I never got into
Yeah.
magnet school. All right, so this is the high school teacher. Look at her natural and adaptive graph. think a minute, and then let's talk about yes or no, and why or why not. Is she good or is she not? Boy, it is nasty and rainy outside. Oh, it's a terrible looking day.
Here too.
She's, I mean, for her adaptive style, I mean, she's patient and sociable, and I think to be a teacher, you have to be patient with students.
That would be a good idea. Otherwise, they throw you in jail.
Right. So I would say that she's doing a good job because she's patient and both at home and at school.
Yeah, because it seems like that's just genuinely, authentically.
Remember the 5-step process. So consider each of those 5 steps.
Oh, it's the opposite. I didn't see that. They looked identical.
About the green line?
Yeah, I thought the yellow. No, they're not the opposite. They are the same. So they are S over I.
And then you go, is there any intensity? Anything above 80?
No.
Anything below 20?
No.
No.
All right, so that tells you steady
Eddie.
Steady Eddie, moderate kind of person.
Did you say how long she's been a teacher?
All her life.
And that we don't know, but that could account for that.
So yes or no?
So I agree with Christian's response. So I think she, should be good for her students as far as like being being able to motivate them, being very positive. But I'm trying to figure out as far as like setting rules. Now I get it. The magnet school is full of scholars. They're probably self-motivated individuals. But as far as her dominance, like taking, like, I am your teacher, I am the one leading this class, kind of thing. It's her, her D is kind of low. So I mean, yeah, I get it. They're scholars, they're self-sufficient type of individuals, but I mean, she is, she's the leader of the classroom setting. So
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's a concern, Clarissa. I agree with you.
So do you feel that teachers should be high Ds?
No, I'm not saying that they should be high Ds, but I'm saying that it's almost like myself. I'm a facilitator. So facilitating adults. So as a facilitator, I am the person that's leading the charge. So it's not that, I mean, I don't have an ID on my own personal score, but in that adaptive setting, I mean, I'm the leader. I'm taking charge. I'm the one delivering the content. I'm driving. I'm strong-willed. I'm determined to complete, to deliver the content. So I just was concerned a little bit about her, just the dominance. So
I'm not disagreeing with anything
but that's just my thought.
Everything you're saying makes sense to me. And actually, to be honest, I agree with you. What I'm having an issue processing is everything that you say. I'm a low D, but I also facilitate and train, and I take control in that classroom. And I wish somebody would step out of line. But I'm a low D, and so
am I. And that's
I'm
why I
grappling
said
in my head. How am I low D when I know how I am in that classroom? I'm still low D though, so that's why I can't look at that and say, but everything you said makes total sense.
Yeah, but it's my own personal sort of opinion, and I feel this way about myself because I also, on my graph, I'm a low D, and I just found it really interesting because it's like when I'm in the class, I do just like you, I'm taking charge, and it's like, how did I have a low D? I feel like you know what I mean?
I was the same way. Like, surely I'm going to be higher in D because I am pretty dominant, but apparently not. I do what I got to do for the class. I don't know.
Now I have a question. So
That's
this
higher.
could be for sorry, this could be for you, Andrea, or this could be for Greg. So what happens? Because okay, so for myself, what happens if I try to like force myself? You know what I mean? Like if I feel like my score in the D is low, if I try to
Oh, that's a
force it,
good
like Andrea,
question.
like
That's a
fake, like
good
if I'm
question.
trying to fake it, will my graph? If I go back and take the test, will my graph change? I wonder.
No, no. All right, let me, for sake of time, let me sort of tie a bow around this so we can move on to the next one. The I always get a lot of discussion about the low D, and I would say in a public school, you're going to need more of a high. I'm not saying all teachers need to be high D because they're not. Most of them aren't high Ds, but it would help if you're the vice principal to be a higher D because you're dealing with discipline today. And so, teachers have to send the kids to the vice principal and they do all the, disciplinary type stuff. But with you're dealing with schools in a magnet school who are self-directed, you, it's better not to be a high D because these kids are very collaborative. And when you see an I, it just shows she, which is 66, she's friendly, outgoing, but she's not like way up here over the top, all about me type of person. And then the S is, steadiness, and it just shows that she's steady, she's organized, um, and a likable kind of individual. So if this was a really high D type person with a low I, it's all about them instead of being about the student. And then the C, I mean, it just means she's aware of rules, but she's not super restrictive and, you know, anal retentive about following every detail to the T. So she's also was the teacher of the year. So I'm assuming she's a very good teacher and qualified for that job. So
And I
let
will
me.
say, just as facilitation, I think there's a big difference between how you work and how you are in front of people. Like you
Mhm.
might, you know what I mean? The standards when you facilitate to not let people, be on their cell phones or do stuff like that. I think in the D, you're looking at it to facilitate. You have high standard. So I don't think being a low D as a facilitator is a bad thing, because you have to be a people person to be up there talking and be able to deliver content. At least I think so. So I don't think that really plays a factor into facilitating, or how you run your classroom setting.
Mhm.
At least
Yeah.
I think
Good,
so as a
good
trainer.
point. All right, let's look at another one. This is a nurse on
Ooh,
in a
nurses are
hospital,
right up my alley.
and it's a hospital nurse, patient nurse, not a managing nurse or a supervisor. And so again, do the 5 steps, and look at any intensity that may be present or absent, and tell me what you think.
So let me ask you, because on the natural side, they're both the same, 74, 74. So which one would be stronger to be the first one?
Yeah, always go with graph two.
Graph two.
Graph
Well, they're
two
the
is
same.
the most accurate. Yeah. Um, so yeah. So what does it mean when graph two and graph one are basically the same?
No, I mean when you're trying to figure out the C over D or S over C, because
Oh, I
on the
see.
first one they're the same numbers, which one would be
Yeah,
step
just take
one?
your pick. It's either going to be a S over C or C over S. But it's you know don't get too wrapped around about the core style. It's just from the book, and it doesn't really change that much on how you if you put C first or S first.
So they're a C over S.
Mm-hmm.
So, which I would assume for compliance for a nurse because there's so many rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm. Any intensity that's important to pay attention to?
They're
Anything
not
above
above
80?
80, but their D's below 20.
Yeah. So, but since it's a patient care nurse and not a supervisor nurse, I don't really pay that much attention to that D score.
No.
So what does it mean if you have 3 colors above the energy line?
Ooh. Um.
So is 3 colors, what does 3 colors mean? So we have high here, we have low, and then we have, moderate. So
So they're
3 colors
moderate.
just means she's more adaptable. Or it's a male nurse. I said she, it's a male nurse. And so 3 colors, all below 80 just means he is not going to be uh, noticeable by his behavior. And again, as I said, the D is not that important since it's not a supervising nurse. And then we look for disparity, and there's no disparity between the 2 graphs. The C is a little bit higher. And I don't know if it was Andrea or Clarissa said, the C, is good because you have today, nurses have to fill out files and do computer work and make sure the hospital gets paid. But he has a personality. He's still friendly, but not, like I said, over the top kind of friendly. And his pace is, stable and consistent. No areas, if it was a low S, I would be worried about it. The C is, like I said, is about following rules and documentation and quality control and all that stuff, healthcare people about. And when I talked to him, I said, well, tell me, what do you like most about your job? And he said, I love my patients. I mean, I wish all my nurses felt that way. So he's people centered as well as organized, and takes care of the analytical side, following the rules. So I'm assuming he is an excellent nurse and is qualified for that job. And I added the wheel because on the 3rd class we're going to start talking about the wheels and how they relate to the graphs on the left side. Now, all right, so let's look at a salesperson. Yes or no, and why or why not? Don't worry about the adaptive graph in this case. So just disregard this part.
I think it makes sense that they're not above 80, so they could probably sell based on their charm and enthusiasm. And I've met salespeople like that. It looks like it's kind of small, but it looks like the influencer part, and that ability to persuade is right above 80, which is good. That dominance, I don't have the descriptors in front of me, but I'm just thinking maybe he's a little pushy. But I think that he would be good in sales. And I don't know the psychology behind it, but they say people that are really, really good in sales are less organized and not as good in the details and following the rules. As long as long as they get the sale, that's what they're good at. And somebody else finishes the paperwork and does all the details that they don't usually do. He looks like a salesperson to me.
Because they've got the sale by that point, so that's why because we have sales in my industry, and this is totally right on.
Yeah, but there's some psychology. I wish I could quote it directly, but usually if you're really good at sales, you're not as good as the organizational part. If you're good at the administrative organizational part, you're not as good as in the sales area.
Yeah. All right. All of it pretty good. Right on the money. Again, remember the 5-step process, because if you don't follow that on the exam, I'm gonna have to knock you out some points. But the 3 colors above the energy line, and just one, the I above 80, just a little bit. But since it's an I, that's fine. Low C, yeah, most salespeople hate paperwork, and they drive customer service at the corporate office crazy because they don't do all the paperwork. But all they care about is making the sale. So you got to take care of those salespeople. And so yeah, this is a good person. 3 colors just means the D is the ability to pick up the phone or do whatever, take action. The I is the people side. The S is the organization side. If you saw a salesperson who has a low S, which a lot of them do, it just means it's like there's a big difference between a used car salesman and, say, a salesman of a luxury car, a Mercedes or a pickup truck like I have. So this person is going to be much more relational, keeping up with their customers better than, say, someone who has a low S, who may be a cold caller, or someone who's just in for the kill, so to speak, make one sale, move on to the next one. So good call on that. And let me just, for the time, just do 1 or 2 more. HR recruiter, good or not good?
I'm gonna say this person could be considered good. I mean, they're high I above the above the 80. I mean, so they're good at
I look at it just opposite.
Oh no, you said they're good at sort of convincing and being inspiring, very polished, very poised. I'm wondering.
Yeah, you're right on the money.
Yeah, I think that would be good at being an HR recruiter, considering that they're high I.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else?
Oh, I look at it differently, but I'm wrong.
Why are you wrong?
Well, I'm looking at it as I think it's great to have that enthusiasm and being inspiring to recruit, absolutely. But when I also think of HR, and I'm probably merging the 2 roles now that I'm thinking about it. When I think about HR, I'm also thinking about code of conduct and being more compliant, and following rules and procedures, especially with hiring practices, making sure that you're eliminating biases and all the other good stuff. And I see that they're low in the compliant area. They're below the energy line. And that is actually their secondary. Well, I know they're below the energy line, so we're not supposed to consider that secondary, but I just think that they should be, for a recruiter, the I is great, but I'm thinking that they should be a little bit higher in making sure that they're following the right procedures and the right protocol.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because you're exactly right. And there's been a big shift from the behavior of a HR person 10 years ago till today. And yeah, this is a recruiter, so yeah, this person is the one who's going out to be the cheerleader for the company. So you're definitely going to need a high I. But what I'm seeing today for HR directors and generalists is much more stronger SC behavior and lower I behavior because of all the compliance.
And there's a big disparity also, right? With the S, is that 30 points, 35 points?
Yeah, there is for some reason. I don't know the reason. So I don't know. Maybe they feel they got to be more of a cheerleader at work than at home. But so I'm just saying the standard behavior style for HR people today is more SC than anything. And I see more lawyers becoming HR directors today than I'd have in the past because of all the laws and everything. So yeah, this is probably, several, not probably, but is several years old, where it was HR was much more a people, this may sound ugly, but a people-centered practice than compliance-centered practice. Okay, but you picked that up. That's a good point. So let me everybody just turn to page 142 in the textbook. So if you see a really high I like that, and 100% at home and 93 at work, what are the probable strengths of this person?
They're socially and verbally aggressive, very optimistic, good at persuading people, can see the big dream and communicate it. They're people-oriented, team-oriented, motivated by praise and strokes.
Right, good. And somebody else, what might be some limitations of a high I?
They act impulsively, heart over mind, unrealistic in appraising people, inattentive to detail, situational listener, disorganized.
Right. And what does the high I need? What does a high I need from people? This is out of chapter 4, so make sure when you're answering these questions you check chapter 4 and chapter 5. But a high I needs to be liked. Write that down on that page 142 and just stick it next to that yellow box, because I will be looking for that on the exam. Okay, good job. Let me just I got 1 minute. Let me just show you what's this person going to have problem with.
Trusting people?
That's
I'm thinking building relationships.
You're exactly right. This person has trouble maintaining or building any type of relationship. And and then what even makes it worse is just, this is a friend of the family, so this is sort of like secret information, but she's not married. And she has super high SC tendencies, so that means she's going to be slow, methodical, and very precise in her expectations. And then super low I skill, not trusting people, not enthusiastic. So definitely she's going to have problems building relationships. All right. Any questions on anything we covered today? Make sure for the third class, you watch those videos that are listed on the website to learn about the wheels, the Success Insight wheels, because I don't want you to be lost and frustrated when we get to the third class, because it's a big shift from these standard disc graphs to the Success Insight wheel. And
one of the people that I picked for my 2 people is actually my company recruiter, which you haven't received yet. So you if you want to compare it to the one that you had, she's our company recruiter and been in recruiting for years.
Okay. Well, what's her last name?
Mumford.
Okay.
She hasn't done it yet, but if you want to look to compare it to where your recruiter was here to where they are now with unemployment the way it is and things like that, that might be if you'd like to.
Yeah. Anything
ahead.
else? Any other questions?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. So, all right, did a good job on the class. Be prepared to, discuss more on the third class. Watch those videos, and we'll be ready to go. So I'll talk to you next week. And happy Veterans. Yeah, we're all working on Veterans Day. What's going on?
Thank you. Bye,
Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.